Hey guys, welcome to another video on requirement capturing techniques. I'm Abhinav Sabharwal, trainer for business analysis, RPA, and Agile. And if you want to learn these business analysis or RPA or Agile from me personally, please contact me on 900 480 9189. And with that, let's begin. Now, in today's video, there are four topics: introduction to H method technique, components of H method, and example of H method. Introduction to H method of requirement gathering. H method is an analyst tool that aids the BA in organizing a fact-finding interview with a business representative or a system user. Let's consider a typical interview process without the use of a framework for organizing an interview. An analyst and a business representative will often participate in a relatively unstructured dialogue in which analyst might ask questions such as, tell me what do you do? What does your system do? Who do you interact with? Why is this particular thing important? Based on the answers given, the analyst will continue to ask follow-up questions. The success of the fact finding is typically dependent upon experience level of the analyst. While this method can work, the analyst will often walk away with several pages of unstructured notes. Important information must then be extracted and organized into something meaningful and useful. Only then we will be able to determine if we have all the necessary pieces of information or if there are still gaps in their understanding. Based on the answers given, the analyst will continue to ask follow-up questions. Now, let's look at the H method technique. The H method uses the following H-shaped diagram. You can see it here. Now, this kind of makes an H shape to provide a structured framework to guide the interview and to allow the analyst to capture information in an organized way from the start. The H method is simple technique that helps to gather business requirements. With this help, managers and business analysts can interview users and collect details. The diagram H helps to overcome the problem of translation, the way business user sees the world into the IT context. Now let's look at what are the components of this H method. So on the left hand side, we have inputs. Now by defining the inputs and outputs, the scope can be further refined. By defining what comes into the area and what is produced, it helps define the scope at a lower level of detail. In middle, we have functionality, business rule, and data. Now functionality will be at the different levels of granularity. At the first interview, it is better to keep focus on getting information rather than granularity. Data. The question, what are the people, places, and things you want to keep track of, is invaluable for a BA. The vast majority of users don't think in the terms of databases. Data comes up all through discussion. When it does, drop it into this box. Then we have business rules. As rules emerge, they should be dropped into business rules box. Like data, they are woven. Then we have business processes. Depending upon the scope of the decision, it may be useful to break it down into discrete business processes. For example, an order fulfillment area may have the following business process: order placement, order fulfillment, and invoice creation. Let us look at the example in which we capture data in H method. Now, let us say we have a simple process where a supplier submits an invoice, somebody checks the invoice and pays the amount due. So on inputs, we have invoice from the supplier. Now this can come in the form of a physical document, or it could be a PDF document, or it might even be a handwritten invoice. Doesn't matter. This is the input. Functionality. Here we are talking about payment of bills. That's what the main functionality of this is about. In my previous slide, we talk about granularity, and you can see it's at the very top. It's not very granular at the moment, but that's fine. Now we have business rules. So I asked the manager, okay, are there any business rules? And he says, yes, there are rules, like invoice with value greater than 30,000 rupees will be paid after 30 days, whereas invoices with the value less than 30,000 rupees will be paid after 10 days. So these are business rules. Now business rules are basically constraints within which the process must run. Data. What is the data that is coming from this particular input? So normally from this input, we extract the following data: supplier ID, amount, invoice number, invoice date, and due date. So you receive the invoice. What you're actually receiving is this data. The input itself is a form in which you receive the data. You have the business rules that govern how and when the invoice will be paid. What is the output of this process? Payment ID. So if you are doing the payment electronically, there will be payment ID, there will be payment date, and the payment amount. So by using the H method, what we have done is we have extracted the data that is most useful to us, and we have put them in the organized form. Now this helps us structure the interview with the user and come to a meaningful conclusion. That's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching my video. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. If you like to learn business analysis from me, you can contact me. My phone number is in the first slide itself or at the beginning of the video itself. Do call me and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you and have a good day.